All right. Welcome to this terrific Tuesday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I got a lot to talk to you about today. We're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff. John Banzaf is going to be here with us in a little while. He's a public interest attorney, and he's nationally known. He's a professor at George Washington University Law School. And he's saying some of these rioters that we're seeing all around the country could go to jail for life. So I'd like to know more about that, as I'm sure you would. I'm going to ask him a little bit about what's happening with our friend Scott Lebedo, who painted the thin blue line down in front of a precinct here in New York. He got a cease and desist and an order from the mayor to remove it. And then lo and behold, we find out right here in New York that Mayor Bill de Blasio himself did not get the proper permits to paint Black Lives Matter in front of Donald Trump's building on Fifth Avenue. So we're in a little bit of a jam there, and we'll figure all that out in a little bit. The markets are doing fantastic today. And I got to tell you what I think is happening here. The Dow is up 273 points, okay, at 28,064. Holding 28 would be huge, and I'll tell you why. Two reasons, most importantly, I'll tell you why. And Bitcoin cruising along yesterday as high as 11.8, today at 11.5, down a few hundred off its highs from yesterday. It's going to hit a little resistance as it bumps up there, gets through 12. It's going into the teens soon. And a lot more people are asking me about trading Bitcoin. There is a new service out there that a bunch of my friends are using. If you're interested in learning how to get a better understanding, reach out to me, shoot me an email. My email is jt@liquidlunchtv.com. A little housekeeping. Our numbers on social media are going wild. Every time I open up the app, to YouTube, to Facebook, all the numbers have plus signs next to them. Percent gains, gross number gains. And a lot of you who are watching now or watching later on or watching overnight when I see a whole bunch of new views come in, a lot of you need to do me one solid. 90% of the people that are viewing our content are not subscribed to our Facebook page or our YouTube page. And we have tremendous amount of great friends and loyal fans and friends that are out there every single day. But the numbers are showing me 90% of the people are not subscribers. So if you're watching and you're not a subscriber, do us a solid so we can keep telling the story and keep the platform growing. Subscribe, like, comment, do something, share, one of those things. I know I've been telling you for a while that I think the market is due for one more big drop to kind of clean out all this government liquidity. But then I was thinking about it last night, and somebody, my friend Craig Shapiro, used to be my business partner. He's an absolute Trump hater. And he was saying, if Donald Trump's messaging was better, he'd already have this thing locked up. And I think it's starting to trickle into the markets. I was a little mad they threw so much money and printed new capital and weakened the dollar a little bit. And commodities, I'm going to talk to you a little bit later about commodities, but it's going to be a good time to be buying commodities if you have a need, because the dollar's getting weaker and all commodities across the world are priced in U.S. dollars. So, there might be some play there for you, what do they call them? Speculator junkies like me. I speculate sometimes. It's usually to the downside. But Craig said it right. No other president would have thrown this much money at a problem so quickly. Liquidity facilities, bond facilities, special purpose vehicle between the Treasury and the Fed to buy debt, buy corporate instruments out there and keep the economy at least alive, the macro economy. So, keep in mind, I thought the market would have a dip to get rid of some of that stuff, but I think that might be the new normal. And I think the markets are starting to think that Trump's going to win this thing going away. I got a lot of evidence that may be right. We'll talk about it a little later, how demented Sleepy Joe is getting. We're going to take a quick break right here. We're going to come back right after this with public interest attorney John Banzaf, right after this. All right, welcome back. We're just kicking it through the first hour here of a terrific Tuesday on Liquid Lunch. We got into a little bit of what's happening with your portfolios out there. But one of the things that continues to cause intermittent volatility in our markets is, when will this rioting and looting and civil unrest end? And as other things seem to be coming into focus that I can tell, I think what we need to do is the government needs to take a little more forceful hand in getting these rioters in line in these blue cities and blue states. But, you know, a lot of people don't realize, because here in New York, they're just not prosecuting. In Chicago, they chose not to prosecute 2,500 felonies. So all these kids, they think they're just having, you know, a little fun in the park. It's like the New Age Woodstock. They're going to do some crazy stuff and nothing's going to happen. There could be some big sentences awaiting these folks when their time comes in the barrel. And to talk about that with us right now is John Banzhaf. John joins us often. He's almost always correct, and he's a nationally known public interest attorney, professor at George Washington University Law. John, apparently you think some of these rioters are going to get some stiff sentences, or they could.
Well, the problem is they've been charged with crimes with have stiff sentences in one or two cases in Salt Lake City, even life in prison. The problem is it'll probably never happen. The prosecutors are facing enormous pressures to probably drop the charges or to reduce them, let them plead guilty to something minor. And whatever the prosecutors are doing, the police are doing, the federal law enforcement people are doing, it ain't working. We had major riots last night in Portland. Chicago's Miracle Mile is now largely boarded up as a result of it. And to add insult to injury, there's a new suit filed. Some of the, I shouldn't say, well, protesters in Seattle are now suing, arguing that they can't afford to buy helmets and tear gas masks and so on in order to participate in so-called peaceful protests. So they're suing over that. So I think it's time we turned it around, and if we can use the word on the air, sue the bastards.
I like it.
To do this. It's working.
I think you're right. Now, let me ask you this. A couple of weeks ago, you gave me some good advice, and you said, you know, sometimes you could use the First Amendment against these people, these municipalities. And here in New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio started painting Black Lives Matter on all the streets, one particularly in front of Trump Tower in Manhattan. And a friend of mine, he's an artist, he's an activist. We've done a bunch of things together to try to support the cops, and he went and painted a blue line down the median in the road in front of a precinct in New York, okay? And it was kind of a symbolic thing, but just, you know, to boost the blue, he called it. You know, he wanted to show support that people out there care about them. He got a cease and desist letter from de Blasio, and he got an order from the Department of Transportation to remove what he put on. And then it turns out de Blasio himself never got any permits to paint the streets in New York. We're in a conundrum here. What do we do?
Well, I don't think you want to go out and start painting the street. What a number of people have done, in some cases successfully, is to make a request, aka a demand, that if they're going to allow one group to put up one kind of message on city streets, then in fairness and under the First Amendment, they have to allow other groups, particularly with competing messages, something of the same privilege.
Well,
so don't go out and start painting streets yourself. Make demands, do it in a certified mail receipt request letter, and you may be surprised that at least one city, the city backed down and decided they wouldn't allow such street paintings anymore.
Well, here's the trick, and this might be, we might need a brilliant legal mind like yours. When you say, well, if they let one person do it, they let the other. When they do it, when there was a little investigation into it, de Blasio never sought any DOT permission or anything. He just did it arbitrarily as, I'm the mayor, I'm the king. So the city is saying, we didn't let him do it, and we're not letting you do it. So is there a way we could bring an action that says, well, if he has to remove the blue line, then you have to remove the BLM?
I think that would be one of the remedies you could ask for in the court. Whether or not the mayor, in fact, had the lawful authority to permit it is kind of irrelevant. He did it. He speaks for the city. He has what we lawyers call apparent authority, and therefore it is governmental action.
So you think that the mayor has some kind of governmental power to arbitrarily paint the street without seeking permission, but other regular folk would have to seek permission?
No, even if the mayor does not have the authority, the city can still be sued because we treat the mayor as having the authority, and it's what we call apparent authority. Sometimes we call it power without authorization. So, for example, if I'm representing a client, there's a settlement offer, I have the power to accept that settlement offer without talking to him at all. But then in return, he can turn around and sue me because I didn't have the legal authority to do it. But more importantly, I think, than painting city streets is the idea that victims of these riots should begin using legal action, going after the perpetrators, because it has many, many advantages over an ordinary prosecution. Prosecutors are under enormous pressure to settle. They have to prove everything beyond a reasonable doubt. Very difficult. They may have to identify the particular guy. Who is it who threw that Molotov cocktail? But when a victim sues, particularly if it's a class action, you don't have those problems. You don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. You just prove by a mere preponderance of evidence. You identify one of the 10 or 20 or 50 guys who was marching over to burn down the courthouse. You can sue him or the 2 or 3 you identify. You don't have to show that he was the one who threw the cocktail. Most importantly, if you get 1 or 2 of them, say from the social media or arrest records, you can sue them for all the damages, even if it was caused by different people. That's what we call joint and several liability. Also, if you are bringing a suit as a private person, you probably have an attorney working on what we call a contingency fee. That means he's going to get a big share of whatever you win. And you may think, well, why should I give away my money? But the answer is he's going to work very, very hard to make sure that your interests are protected. Not a prosecutor, not some 9-to-5 kid who comes into the prosecutor's office and doesn't want to upset his win record. If your lawyer is going to get a third of everything you get, boy, he's going to work hard. We have a saying, never underestimate the tenacity of a lawyer on a contingency fee. So I say to all those people who have been victims, sue the bastards.
Well, look, I'm trying to figure out a way where we could have a meaningful impact on the dialogue, but I got to tell you, the attorneys that want to work on a contingency, a lot of them around here in New York are crackpots. They're more interested in the publicity they're going to get out of it than they are in the actual cause. And the guys who can really bring a thoughtful case that could have merits and stand up past a headline, they don't really want to work on a contingency. So, and it's hard, it's hard to underwrite these, these public interest lawsuits.
Well, you're exactly right on that. But if the guy's going to get paid in publicity rather than money, more power to him, more money to the plaintiff. Yeah, it's difficult to find such a person, but particularly if you talk about a class action on behalf of all of the stores, for example, which were burned or injured or looted or desecrated and so on in a riot, you're talking about potentially tens of millions of dollars. And that should be enough to attract many very, very good lawyers. And I've worked with some situations where lawyers who you wouldn't think would be able to win a case have beaten all the odds and taken on a case. So I'd rather see more of these cases. Some will be won, some will be lost. But remember, the minute you sue one of these rioters, he's got to hire an attorney. He's got to file a defense. He may have a lien placed against his assets. It may affect his credit rating. And so all of these things could be a powerful deterrent. I'm not saying it's a silver bullet, not saying it's going to solve the problem, but everything else, as you know, just hasn't worked. This would be a new string in our bow. This would be a new and important weapon. And people are beginning to do it. A journalist is sued. Somebody else who's injured is sued. The New York Detectives Association says they're going to sue. So it is beginning.
So my studio in Manhattan was vandalized in one of the nights of looting. So I think I could actually be a lead plaintiff. Other people may have more damages than me, but if I want to be the lead, I probably could. And it turns out that Bill de Blasio's daughter was arrested a few blocks away the same night for looting and rioting. So maybe I could bring her into it.
I think they'll make a great lawsuit with you as the named plaintiff and DeVazio as a named defendant. And even though your damages may not be very great, I assume there were many, many others similar small businessmen such as yourself who also
They might want
likewise
to
suffer
join.
damages.
Right.
So under a class action, that attorney, the one who gets in there first, frequently will get to represent everybody.
That's right.
So
All
sure,
right.
he's not going to want to take your little $10,000 case.
Hey,
but if you've got hundreds of
Doc.
people, he will.
No, John. I'm suffering. I have pain. I have pain and suffering. It's not just material. I have other pains. I'll talk to you soon. We got to run. That's John Banzaf. He's a nationally known public interest attorney and professor at George Washington Law. Thank you, Professor. Quick break. More Liquid Lunch right after this. All right, welcome back. It is a terrific Tuesday, that's for sure. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco, and we are spanning the globe. We're spanning the country. We're spanning right down to the community level, talking to all different kinds of people, reaching out to social media. And even though it's not so terrific in these crazy times, it's still a terrific Tuesday. We're bringing you terrific guests. And just like this guy, who's joined us many times before, Dr. Michael Busler joins us right now. He's a PhD in public policy analyst, economics expert, and professor of finance at Stockton University. Doc, break down these executive orders. I'm really happy, of course, about the unemployment one, that they cut it from 6 to 4. I think Trump was in a little bit of a political jam there. He couldn't take it to 200 or 0 because then everyone will say Trump took my money and that'll hurt him electorally. But he did get it down to 400 with the states covering 25%. I like that one. I love the corporate tax holiday. I've been begging Stephen Moore for that for like 6 months now. Break them all down for us. I think this is great news for the economy. I think it's great news for Trump's reelection.
Yeah, well, as you know, this would be really the second round of stimulus. Congress couldn't get together with the president to decide exactly what to do. The president is most concerned, obviously, with getting the recession over as quickly as possible and getting the economy back to normal. But he's also worried about the size of the federal deficit. Before the virus hit, the deficit this year would have been $1 trillion. They added $3 trillion in deficit in stimulus spending. So now we're up to close to a $4 trillion deficit. Tax revenue will be a little lower, so the deficit could be higher. That's 3 times higher than the worst deficit that we've ever had. So President Trump, being aware of that, said, look, we can't give people, unemployed people, an extra $600 on top of their unemployment compensation. And the reason is, one, we don't have the money, but two-thirds of the unemployed people are now making more money being unemployed than going back to work. That's resulted, and I've talked to probably 24 small business people who tell me the same thing. They're having trouble getting the workers to come back because they'd be making less money working than not working. So President Trump said, you can't keep doing that. Instead of $600 a week, let's make it $400 a week. Federal government will cover $300 of it. The state will have to cover the other 100, and if some states have a problem doing that, we can talk about it. So it will be a good thing for the unemployed people, and it will keep the deficit at least down from what it could have been.
So now we kind of created, I think, you know, as much as the left-wing media wants to tell you how Donald Trump is crazy and he's not capable, he's not mentally stable, I think he created the perfect trap for them. Because now, if they want to go to court and start saying that these executive orders were illegal, then the Democrats are going to be in a position where they're going to be suing the president to take away the $400 that he just gave them. And I don't think anybody has much faith that the Democrats are going to do any better. So it sure seems like to me that Trump has ran a pretty good game on them here.
Yeah, I think he did. I think from a strategic standpoint, this is going to turn out to be excellent. I don't know whether these executive orders are legal or not, but somebody's going to have to challenge it. And as you correctly point out, if a Democrat says, I'm going to challenge this, he can't give extra money to unemployed people. Politically, that's a very difficult argument. You know, John, one other key point, I'm not so sure we need all this stimulus. In the last 3 months, we've created more jobs than in any point in history. Normally, during a normal economy, you create 200,000, 300,000 jobs a month. During the recovery from the '09 recession, the best month we ever had was about 400 and some thousand. In May, we created 2.8 million jobs. Retail sales went up 18% in the month of May. In June, we created almost double that, 4.6 million jobs in 1 month. Retail sales were up 8%. And then in July, even though parts of the economy were shutting down, we created another 1.8 million jobs. That's over 9 million jobs in 3 months, the most ever. Now, critics will say, yeah, but we came from a bad spot. We've lost over 20 million jobs. That's true. But if you're looking at the speed of the recovery, this is faster than any recovery has ever happened. So there's a question whether we need it. Politically, I think it's a good idea. And President Trump has come up with a compromise that helps unemployed people and doesn't do too much to the deficit.
No, well, look, I understand what you're saying. In my opening statement today, I was talking about that very thing, that a lot of people don't realize that not many other presidents would have had the business acumen to act that quickly. And I didn't love the fact that they were printing so much money, and we see the effects of that on the U.S. dollars at quite the low point right now. So that's going to happen when we flood the market with money. But he did prevent probably a much worse catastrophe by doing what any good businessman knows. If you got enough money to throw around, and we have an unlimited magic printing press, just print some money and flood the market with stimulus and liquidity, and that's what kept the macros alive, if you ask me.
Yeah, great point. President Trump is not a politician, although he's learning to be one. He is a business person, and a business person is concerned with results and getting results done quickly. He's not like a politician where he's concerned necessarily with perceptions, following the rules exactly the way you're supposed to, drag things out for years. He's going to get results quickly. He was able to do that. And working with Congress, that, as you know, is deeply divided, he was able to get a series of stimulus packages passed. And those packages did, I think, marvelously in turning the economy around rapidly. Although the Federal Reserve themselves a couple of months ago said unemployment will be at 10% at least until the end of the year, I think they're way off on this. Unemployment will go under 10% next month. I think by the end of the year, unemployment will be down probably close to 8%, very high, but a very rapid recovery. We were at 14.7% unemployment in March. We're now down to 10.2, and we're dropping rapidly. It's because President Trump knows what to do from a business standpoint, and President Trump was able to bring the sides together to get the first stimulus passed. The second one, he's not going to break the bank on this, so he'll do what he has to. The Democrats are now back talking to him, knowing that, as you correctly point out, Trump has really got the upper hand in this.
Yeah, it sure looks like he created quite the ballywick here to fight them off, and I think he's got them stuck, which is probably a good thing for America, and it's a good thing going into the home stretch of this re-election debate, because everyone knows that the president just gave him 400, and he suspended everybody's college student loans. Business owners got a 7% boost in their monthly revenue, and those who are employed got a 7% raise. So everyone's pretty much happy out there right now.
You know, one last point, John. I was just going to say, I think we're in September and October, we're going to see a whole lot of real good news on the economic front. Also, I think some of these vaccines will be close to getting approved. I think all that good news will carry President Trump very well November, and I think he's going to win re-election.
Me too. Dr. Michael Busler, professor of finance at Stockton University, always joins us when he can. Thank you very much. We'll have you back soon. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back right after this. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, welcome back. Good show so far. All right, Johnny Banzaf always gives me some good sound legal advice. We are trying to figure out if there is some cause of action we can bring against the city to try to stop the looting. Maybe a civil suit, bring class action civil suit on behalf of all small business owners. I like that one. If you're a small business owner and you're watching, shoot me a note if you want in on it. I think if we got thousands of small business owners in New York and we started a class action suit against the city for creating a serious, dangerous situation where they have taken away our ability to operate our businesses, I think there's some serious lawyers out there that would take that case and love to beat the hell out of Bill de Blasio and Governor Cuomo with that stick, but who knows? Beating the hell out of himself is Joe Biden, okay? And Joe Biden, I don't know, a couple weeks back, I showed you Joe Biden on some Islamic conference with Islamic relations or something, and as he was speaking to him, he said, "You will have a voice in the White House, and in our schools, we need to preach more of your religion." This is what Joe Biden said to the Islamic community, okay, the Muslim community. We're not allowed to do the Pledge of Allegiance anymore because it says God in our public schools, but Joe Biden's already talking about how he's going to teach more Muslim in our schools. That's number one. So he's down with the Muslim crowd. Fine, okay. Muslims in schools, good for Joe Biden. Catholic, Christian, God, no good. That's number one, okay? And he's kind of taking aim at, Christianity in a number of different ways, but he comes out there as, good old Uncle Joe, which he ain't. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing, but he's a wolf that is at the end of his wolfness. You know what I'm saying? He's no longer, a full wolf. He's like a lone wolf now. Like, I don't know if you remember Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. When they broke up at one point, Lenny got a jacket that said Lone Wolf because they weren't no longer partners. Joe's kind of away from the wolf pack now. He's like a wandering wolf. So he's down with teaching more Muslim in our schools. Okay, let's pin that right there. If this was Pinterest, let's put a pin in that. Muslim in schools, okay? Now, a month ago, you may remember that he basically challenged the intellect of any person who was black and questioned if they're considering him or not. Here's what he said with Charlemagne the God, a.k.a. Lawrence McKelvey. I think he has some kind of conviction, Charlemagne, for alleged sexual assault or something. I don't know. But anyway, he did put Joe's feet to the fire here.
More questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing.
Let's toast to that one. I'm having strawberry daiquiris today, if anybody's interested. Nice, cool, refreshing drink. If you aren't sure if you're voting for me, you ain't black. So he's basically casting one big net over African-American community. I'm Joe Biden. We hate Trump. All blacks will vote for me. It's an edict. Okay, that's what he said right there. But anyway, now the other day, I believe he was taken to task by a guy who was an African-American guy on CBS and asked him if he would take the cognitive test that Trump took. And he started screaming at the guy and said, did they ask you to take a test? Did you take a drug test? Did you take a cocaine test? Are you a junkie? So he kind of bullied the guy back from asking him a question about, a simple test. And by the way, they keep saying this cognitive test that Trump supposedly took. They're saying it's so easy, it's like a kindergartner. I looked it up last night. You need two people. You need someone to administer it to you. But it's not like, it's not like your permit test. You know what I mean? Like there's actually you got to have some connection to the universe of intelligence to get through the thing, okay? But now, as he already said, just basically, shoehorned a whole race, all African Americans. If you're not voting for me, you ain't black, okay? Now, the other day, as he's groveling to the Latin American community, the Latino community, in this big Latino event that he's trying to suck up to them for votes, he started talking about the difference between the Latino community and the African American community. Take a look at this.
And by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. You go to Florida, you find a very different attitude about immigration in certain places than you do when you're in Arizona. So it's a very different, a very diverse community.
So I just watched the clip, and Joe Biden this morning totally disparaged and insulted the black community. What he said is incredible, and I don't know what's going on with him, but it was a very insulting statement he made.
So here he is, Joe Biden. He still hasn't removed foot from mouth from the appearance with Charlemagne the God. Okay, he still hasn't got over that yet, because a lot of people, and Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club even said, we have more questions for you, Joe. We need you back. So they didn't even accept it at that. So that foot is still like in the mouth, like this, okay? Then he comes out. If you didn't hear that properly, I hope you did, but he said, the difference between the African American community and the Latino community is there's a lot of diversity in the Latino community. There's a lot of different cultures, a lot of different types of people in the Latino. You might find some different cultural Latinos in Arizona than you would in Texas. And these Latinos, they have such panache to them. They're so diverse. Unlike the African American community that I, Joe Biden, just paint with one big stroke, one big broad stroke. You don't vote for me, or you ain't black. And all you people over here, African American folks, you have no diversity. You're all the same. And Joe Biden has said some crazy things that if I repeat even saying his words, I'll probably have the BLM out here in front of my house, so I'm not going to say it. But he said, black kids, poor black kids have the same right as white kids, way back on some educational thing he was talking about. And he's been brutal on the African American community. And if Donald Trump said 1/10 of the things he said, my God, there would be rioting at the White House. And there was yesterday, actually. Somebody got shot there or something. But now he's pandered to the Muslims. We're going to have Muslim in the schools. He's totally obliterated African Americans by saying you ain't black and this and that. Okay. Now, finally, yesterday he got to the Asian community. And I want you to hear what he said about Asians yesterday. This is shocking.
Now, he's blaming everything on China. He's blaming everything on the Chinese. He's blaming everything, and people don't make a distinction, as you well know, from a South Korean and someone from Beijing. They make no distinction. It's Asia, and that's the way. And he's just using it as a wedge.
People don't make a distinction between you folks, all right? Yeah, you, the lady in the box next to me on Hollywood Squares. They don't make a distinction. Asians are Asians. It's, what's a South Korean or a Chinese or a Japanese? Well, yeah, People don't make distinguish between them folks. They're just all Asians. When I see all you Asians, it's like I see all you blacks. There's no diversity. It's all just one big Asian hunk of voters over there. Come on. I'm Uncle Joe. Nobody sees any distinguishing features amongst you people. It doesn't matter if you live in other countries or other provinces or if you're Democratic or if you're communist. It doesn't matter. Filipino, Asian, it's like the old, all you people over there and you people over there. You know what I mean? So he's basically killing himself with all communities, and from what I hear, he's polling really poorly with the Latino community, who he was trying to kiss up to while he was destroying his African-American base. So, I don't know. A little fun stuff. I got some stuff on Nancy Pelosi, stuff on New Jersey. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with some more Liquid Lunch in just a moment. Stay right there. Welcome back, folks. I've been taking my makeup off every day with the coronavirus wipes.
How's it working?
I'm still corona free.
Couldn't even wipe your fake tan off.
Well, that's because that's not a fake tan. That's a real tan. Welcome back. Welcome back. Dow up 260, having a banner day today, just above 28,000. Bitcoin down 500, maybe a buying opportunity because I have been quite hot lately, as you know. I can tell you how to if you want to get in, and it will be friendly service. I'm not a financial advisor, but a lot of people are asking me, how do I get a wallet? Where do I open an account? How much do I put in? Just email me. I'll help you as much as I can. Overstock holding strong at 1 hundo. Had a little bit of a beat down this morning, got as high as 112 the other day. But sometimes when these things are on a big run, it's like me and you. You know what I mean? If you go out for a run, like when you're done, you're like, you feel better. Like a few hours later, you feel like, ooh, I'm so glad I got my run in today. And then tomorrow, you can run a little further because you already taught your body that you can go past that limit of pain. And stocks act the same like that sometimes. When they have a big run, then they're like, all right, I need a rest. Give me a beer. Fix me up a daiquiri. So Overstock did that the last couple days. Bounced down to as low as $89. So there was a real buying opportunity at 90. Because if you ask me, the end of September, and Jess, let's make a mark right now on this video. This will be a Overstock prediction. The end of September, 9/31 the latest, or 9/30, September has 30 days. Overstock will be at $150, and that's just my own personal opinion. And I have set up some of my investments in my portfolio to reflect that level of gain from here. So if you remember, 2 Mondays ago, the stock was $53, and I told you it would be $100, and it actually doubled in 2 weeks. So it's not going to happen like that again, but I'm saying about 6 weeks, you should get a 50% return, if you ask me. And compare it to Wayfair. A lot of people look at Wayfair and say, whoa, I'm buying Wayfair. It's $300. Wayfair has never made a single penny. Keep that in mind. Not one time in history has Wayfair ever had a positive earnings quarter. Never. It's a big Ponzi scheme. They just keep buying things and selling them to you at a loss. And then when they need more money, they issue stock, and then they put the money and they roll it into more. And I guess at some point, I guess they're going to unfairly compete for so long that they'll gain market share and then they'll have a bigger spread. But if you're betting on Wayfair, you got the wrong horse, if you ask me. Okay. Now, I do want to point out some weird things, and I just to go back a little bit. So much has happened during this whole quarantine fiasco here. But our food family was raided like never before. And I talked about this months ago, but well, just to recap, okay. Our favorite aunt, Aunt Jemima, she's gone, okay. One of my favorite uncles, Uncle Ben, he's gone, okay. Eskimo pie, the little Eskimo pie guy, gone. no longer are allowed. These are racially insensitive terms. Okay. Land O'Lakes butter. You got the little Indian lady on there on the butter thing. She's gone. They left the land. They took the Indian. Okay. So it's getting crazy. You know, Paw Patrol was under attack, the little kids cartoon thing, because there's a cop in it. In Texas, you're never going to believe this, okay? In Texas, the Realty Board of the state of Texas has decided they will no longer describe homes with a master bedroom. There's no more master bedroom. No! It can't be the master, because that would connotate the master's quarters on a slave plantation. What about, master? Like, just the word master is like, master means the largest. Like, he's the master, and that's the minor, and that's the junior. And, anyway, master is gone. It's gotten so crazy that this whole political correctness thing is now in outer space. We had Nick Pope on here last week, and Nick Pope's one of the foremost experts in UFOs, and he's talking about how now the government is admitting that there are unidentified flying objects, and they basically released some footage of that, so we know there were UFOs out there. So now that we know there is life in the comet, what do they call it? In the cosmic, there's cosmic life out there in the cosmos? We got to get outer space politically correct. Cue NASA. NASA announces that they will be re-examining nicknames for cosmic objects. Okay? Distant objects such as planets, galaxies, and nebulae are referred by unofficial nicknames. And the community comes up with cosmic nicknames. Some of them are not only insensitive, but can be actively harmful. These are names that NASA has internally for cosmic galaxies far, far away. Okay? As an initial step, NASA will no longer refer to planetary nebula NGC 2392, the glowing remains of a sun-like star at the end of its life. They will no longer call it the Eskimo Nebula. So now the Eskimo pie got kicked out of everybody's freezer in America. Probably, who knows about the world, so there's no more Eskimos to be had here. And now the Eskimo can't even survive in outer space. The Eskimo Nebula is gone, and according to NASA, Eskimo is widely viewed as a colonial term with a racist history imposed on the indigenous people of Arctic regions. NASA also will no longer use the term Siamese twins galaxy, or a pair of spiral galaxies found in the Virgo galaxy cluster. They will only use their official name designations from now on, where nicknames are not appropriate. Nicknames, they say, are sometimes more approachable and public friendly than official names for cosmic, such as Barnard 33, whose nickname is the Horsehead Nebula. Now, when you say Horsehead Nebula, that's insensitive to me because I'm Italian. And Italians are depicted in the movie The Godfather. And in the movie The Godfather, when they're angry, they put the horse head in the bed with the guy to scare him. Okay, so it's a symbol of Italian movies. And I find it insensitive that they're still using the Horsehead Nebula. And I think they should remove it in honor of Mario Puzo, the writer of the original Godfather book. Who knows? But anyway, craziness everywhere. It's even in the outer space now. It's in the galaxies and the kingdoms beyond. They're changing names of cosmic constellations because an Eskimo may be insensitive to the Martians flying by in the unidentified flying object. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I'm sorry. All right, that's hour one. I want to end it with a little extraterrestrial crap, but we'll take a quick break. We're going to come back after this, we'll do a little top stories, and then we'll mix it up with Josh Kravitz and Manny Alejandro right here on Liquid Lunch. All right, welcome back. Just buzzing it right through here and kicking off hour two on a terrific Tuesday. Lots to talk about. You know, over in Chicago, things are getting so crazy over there. that the district attorney has decided not to charge up to 2,500 felons with crimes. She's just letting them off the hook. She's not charging the felonies because it was looting and rioting and everything. And they call it the Miracle Mile, I believe, is a wreck. The municipal council tried to raise the bridges through town, but that didn't really work. So Chicago is going absolutely crazy right now. And here in New York, I talked to Dr. John Banzhaf a little, he's not a doctor, Professor John Banzhaf, a little earlier. And he thinks that there's a really good cause of action for a class action against the city for overreach, leading to an unsafe situation and the destruction of many businesses. So, now in hour one, okay, we talked about a lot of things, but we talked about how Joe Biden has repeatedly put his foot in his mouth. Okay, he said to Charlemagne the God that if you don't know if you're voting for him or Trump, you ain't black. He went on CBS the other day. He was asked about a cognitive test, and he told the African-American reporter, did they test you for drugs before you came on this, before you got this job? Are you a junkie? They give you a test for cocaine, buddy? Okay. And now yesterday, he's out there talking about his wonderful lifelong connection to the Asian community. And he basically he does another "you ain't black" comment. You know, he just painted all black people with one brush and said, if you're not voting for me, you ain't black. Okay. Now he's talking to these Asian folks, and he's telling them how, you know, people don't distinguish between different Asians. You could be in South Korea, or you could be in Japan, or you could be in China. People don't distinguish. It's just all one big blob of people, and we can't tell the difference between all you folks. There's diversity now in the Latino community. Now there's diversity. But you black folks and you Chinese folks, according to Joe Biden, they are just like one thing. No one distinguishes between any of the other ones. Now, at the same time, he's bashing you know, anyone of, you know, almost any Asian descent. Nancy Pelosi, you know, dragged herself away from a bottle of gin, and she got out there and started talking about who she thinks really wants Trump to lose or Biden to win. Who does Nancy Pelosi think wants Joe Biden to win really bad? Let's take a look.
Chinese, what they said is China would prefer Joe Biden. Whether they do, that's their conclusion, that they would prefer Joe Biden.
That's their conclusion. China would prefer Joe Biden. So the Chinese Communist government will prefer Joe Biden. Okay. By the way, Nancy, they don't have a vote here. Number of studies recently saying that while everyone said that Russia helped Trump last time, both Russia and China want Joe Biden in there because they know how corrupt he is, that if he gets back in, we're back to the status quo. So it looks like Trump's on his own here, and China and Russia are supporting Joe Biden. If you don't believe me, just ask Nancy Pelosi. She said it herself. Play it one more time, Nico, on the way out of this segment. Here is Nancy Pelosi. Who does China want to win? Nancy?
Chinese, what they said is China would prefer Joe Biden. Whether they do, that's their conclusion, that they would prefer Joe Biden.
I mean, I can't play it enough, but Nancy Pelosi herself said China would prefer Joe Biden. Quick break, come back and mix it up with Josh Kravitz and Manny Alejandro right after this.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
Alrighty, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. Now, for those of you watching on Biz, and our numbers have been going up there also, talked to Scott Miller lately, and starting in September, we're going to be heard all around the country on over 100 stations on Westwood One on Biz Radio. So our first hour of each day's show will also be broadcast live across the country to, I think, like 100 stations in different markets in Texas, California, all these other places. So we're moving on up in that place, and lots of new friends coming back around. I'm seeing them in the stream, people sending me comments. Lots of people I've never met before are really getting involved in the show, and my friend Letitia's on there, for those of you watching on Biz. On the commercials, we're live on Facebook, and I kind of, let everybody behind the scenes on what is really going on with the production of a television show with limited staff and limited talent. But it's kind of funny, you know what I mean? And the staff kind of picks on me more than anything. Nico was talking about how that little box he puts up next to me, it's like creeping up on my face, and I got to keep moving over like this, and he said he's trying to put the guy's face over my face. So my friend Kimmy's out there, and Letitia, as I mentioned, is on there. My buddy Izzy, Mary's on, Tommy Locks is on. So the crew is growing every day, which is to me good news. So Nico, according to you, we have some breaking news.
Well, yeah, what I had,
Is Nico home?
top of the news that I had, you just covered last segment. Russia claims to have the first approved vaccine in the world. And I don't know if Putin gave it to his daughter or not, but I agree with you. I think it's probably propaganda.
Well, believe it or not, I have major intelligence connections out there. I did get a package this morning with Vladimir Putin's vaccine. Here it is. Now, what you do is, according to Vladimir, is you take this Fabuloso. You take like one shot of it. Should I drink it or no? Do you think I could drink it?
I don't think so.
You think I'll die if I put it in my daiquiri?
Yes.
Well, Vladimir says that this is what we drink and we don't get the coronavirus. So apparently, something like this is probably what Putin's spreading around. And I don't know, Trump a few months ago said maybe we should get some bleach inside the body. And if any of you out there talk about business, we talk about Bitcoin, politics, all this other crap, if you want a little ghetto air freshener advice, okay? If you want some ghetto air freshener advice, like you were cooking something and it burnt and the whole house smells like smoke, or you lit your towel on fire or a plastic bag, or something goes wrong and it stinks, right? What you do is this. You take a nice little pot, like a little boiler pot like this, okay? And you put like a half a bottle of Fabuloso in there, and you put the water on, and you boil the Fabuloso, and then all of a sudden your house smells like the magic garden. It's like a beautiful botanical smell, and everything else that you may have smelled from the burning or the smoking or anything else is gone, and your house smells so fresh. One thing I would advise you is don't forget you're boiling the Fabuloso, because it boils off and then that goes on fire, and then you have smoke again. Then you need the other half of the Fabuloso to take care of the smoke from the burnt Fabuloso. And the burnt Fabuloso smell is no joke. So don't drink it. I was kidding. I'm drinking daiquiris, not Fabuloso, but Jess, do we have any updates on Lebanon? Oh, Nico has some more breaking news for us.
You're going to like this one. So a pair of pro-cop groups are suing Mayor de Blasio after being denied a Blue Lives Matter mural, which is akin to the one Black Lives Matter had splashed across Fifth Avenue.
This I love. Okay, so let's get... Now, oftentimes on the show, you may see me say, let's get this guy, let's get that guy, and Nico says yes, but then he just ignores me, and if I don't remember, then they don't come on. But we should have, by the end of this week, Joe Imperatrice, New York City police officer and founder of Blue Lives Matter organization, okay? And Darren Porcher, former NYPD lieutenant, who's on every channel. He was on with us first, and now he's big time. He's Mr. Fox News, Newsmax, he's everywhere, okay? We should have Joe Imperatrice and Darren Porcher on here, and we should get some real cops to talk about what the hell is going on out there and talk about how we can help these organizations, because if Bill de Blasio, and by the way, anyone who doesn't remember this, Bill de Blasio's real name in life is Warren Wilhelm. That's his name, okay? He changed his name to Bill de Blasio years and years later in stages. His real name is Warren Wilhelm. And if Warren Wilhelm can take the resources of New York City, the Department of Transportation is out there painting the street, however many guys on union labor, city labor, our time, taxpayer time. And then Bernard Kerik put out a tweet a couple of weeks ago that the PD has a 9-man detail protecting the Black Lives Matter. They got like a lieutenant, a sergeant, or 2 lieutenants, and 6 or 7 other guys. 9 men around the clock, 3 tours a day. So 27 men through the course of the day protect a painting of Black Lives Matter, which was a spite job all the way. It was a total spite job that he put it right in front of Trump's building. All this money is being spent for a vanity project for Warren Wilhelm. Well, by the way, a lot of people are going through mental problems right now, especially cops, right? De Blasio gave his wife $800 million to start a program called Thrive. Look it up. Thrive. 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 It was a mental health program to reach out to the homeless, the mentally incapacitated, mentally disabled in the city and bring them together, give them services. This gets me so mad. They had the woman who's the executive director of the Thrive program before the city council and asked her, of the $800 million, $400 million has been spent. What have you done with the money? She said these exact words: we have no measurable results at this time. So no one on earth can answer where $800 million went. It went in Shirlane and Warren's pockets, I guarantee you. But in the meantime, we're spending taxpayer money in a terrible time to paint the streets and surround it with cops. And then the cops who want to do a little mural for themselves to keep their morale up and say, hey, people are with us too, they get shut out. So we're in a scary time, folks. I know, I went a little off there. And by the way, I almost drank the Fabuloso, which would have been really dangerous. But have a daiquiri, sit back, relax, don't go anywhere, because my favorite attorney is going to be here next. Tisha Powell joins us right after this. Alrighty, hello, welcome back. You watching Liquid Lunch on a terrific Tuesday. Oh my, it's terrific. And if you didn't think it was terrific, if there's something bothering you, put some ice in a glass, pour some alcohol in there, whatever you want. Okay, put some mixer if you must, but if you're having a bad day, drink it straight, okay? Sit back and relax, because it's going to get terrific right now, and it's a terrific Tisha Tuesday. And we're joined by Tisha Powell. She's a nationally recognized attorney. She is one of the best television commentators out there, and she's also the author of Trump Must Win, Discover the Dark Days America Will Face If Trump Isn't Reelected. Tisha, I know you're working on a new book now, too, aren't you?
Yes, I'm almost done with that book. It should be out by December.
Hopefully by December? Okay. Hopefully it'll be about Trump's win. But the big thing I want to talk to you about, and a number of things, and you're the best on this stuff, and you call it like it is. A while back, Joe Biden was on with Charlemagne the God, and he made this blanket statement that if you are undecided between me and Donald Trump, you ain't black. So as far as I can tell, are you still black?
Yes, I'm still black, born black, will live black for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and you will not be voting for Joe Biden?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And I'm still
Okay.
black.
So we've dispelled that rumor that if you're not voting for Joe Biden, you ain't black. So thank you for fixing that for us. Now, the other day he was on television and he was pandering to a Latino organization, and he said, unlike the black community, the Latino community is very diverse. There's all different types of people within the Latino, different cultures, different traditions, and all this other stuff. And he's basically saying, you know, all them blacks are the same, and all you Latinos, you're a more diverse group. Was that insulting to you as a black woman?
Absolutely, it is, because a lot of blacks are also diverse. You know, you have Caribbean blacks, you have Jamaican blacks, you have British blacks, you have Black Americans, you have African Americans. So there's different levels of I would say of blacks. And I think that even with the political process, that there are a lot of Caribbean people who will be voting for Trump. So I think that Mr. Biden has just missed the mark, that he has not gotten a chance to study the black population, to see that there is a large black population in, you know, in New York, that's a Caribbean population, and they tend to vote Republican. Same for the Caribbean population in Miramar and Pembroke Pines, which is Florida. So I'm just surprised how the Democratic Party for years take black people for granted, including Mr. Biden. And black votes are very important. And this is where Donald Trump come in. He understands what it's like to, you know, what he's seen what's going on with blacks, that we need jobs, and he's creating jobs for us. And that's what we wanted in a president, somebody who would create jobs so that we could take it and run with it and make something of our lives.
So you're saying, in your view, that there's a lot of diversity in the black community. And let me ask you this, Tisha. You know, I'm Italian and Irish, right? And there's a lot of people in America that come from Italy. Their nation of origin is Italian, right? But my family comes from Sicily, which is a little island in southern Italy, right? There are other people that live up in northern Italy. And the foods, the languages, the norms, the traditions are way different. They speak different, they eat different types of foods, different seasonings, and all this other stuff. What is there, would you say there's, other than your skin tone, do you have a very similar lifestyle to someone who's an African black? You're a Caribbean black person.
You know, at the end of the day, we're all God's creatures. You know, we're all one under God. But I will just try to remind people that a lot of blacks are, you know, we're getting excited over President Trump for creating jobs. And that's what it's about. People want to feed their families. You know, we can't handle the liberal, you know, party today. We can't handle the socialism today. People are afraid of socialism. And, you know, with, you know, Vice President Biden, he was in the middle. Now he's gone way over to the liberal left. You know, he's have all these radical people that are going to speak at his lineup for the Democratic convention. And it's scary. It's a scary time to be a Democrat. It's really scary.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And it's getting scarier by the minute, if you ask me, because I keep hearing this name, Susan Rice. I want to get to that stuff with you. Now, Biden is saying he's going to announce his running mate by midweek, okay? It's Tuesday, so we're pretty close to that. There's speculation out there, Susan Rice, Kamala Harris, Karen Bass. What are your thoughts on each one of them? Susan Rice.
Well, she's got a lot of baggage from the Obama administration. I mean, you know, it's going to be coming out. I mean, even the New York Times are saying that Susan Rice would be a bad pick. And the New York Times is as liberal as it is. And even the most liberal media is saying, ooh, don't go with Susan Rice.
So what about Kamala Harris?
Well, wasn't Mrs. Harris the one who said we're not supposed to eat meat while she was running, you know, for president a couple of months ago? So I think people remember that as well, that Mrs. Harris is very, very liberal. and probably even a socialist, and we don't even know it as yet. And maybe Mrs. Harris doesn't even know that her policies are under the socialist agenda.
So, but what about, but Kamala Harris was a prosecutor, she was district attorney. What, doesn't that hurt her a little bit, that she's, you know, incarcerated so many black men?
That's very hurtful, and it doesn't help that she's in a liberal state. I mean, it just shows you how liberal she's going to be thinking, and this is just not what we need right now in America. It's not good for us to be thinking this liberal and to be thinking in the socialist terms. This is not good for America.
All right,
it's not
and then
good for black either to be a socialist country. It's not good.
what about this last candidate they keep talking about, this Karen Bass? What do you know about her?
Well, Mrs. Bass once praised Fidel Castro, so that's never a good thing for somebody to be on a VP ticket that think, you know, any communist party is ideal. I mean, I'm sure she's trying to backtrack, or she says she's trying to learn from it, but I don't think that being a vice president is a place for her, for Mrs. Bass to learn anything. I think she's just right where she should be.
So for those of you watching at home and you don't know about it, Karen Bass, you know, in her past had come out and praised Fidel Castro as a great leader and all this other stuff. So now she's trying to backtrack on that and saying, well, if she would have known then what she knows now, she would have never been for Fidel Castro. But the proof's in the pudding, right? You came out, you said it. You got to own it. She was a supporter of Fidel Castro. So we have potentially 3 really bad candidates here. And it really sucks because when you have a president who says, I'm going to pick a woman, I'm going to pick an African-American woman, you would think it's a great day for America to see, you know, minority women moving up to those places. And the best 3 they have for us, to me, all seem quite flawed.
It just, you know, John, it's really a sad day in America that we're still talking about Sanders socialism. You know, we thought, you know, since Sanders was not a nominee, it would, you know, the socialism would die out. But unfortunately, Biden is creating more socialism by bringing on these, you know, these African-American women who praise Castro, who think we shouldn't eat meat. I mean, it's a crazy time in America when we have Biden picking someone that might be very socialist for us.
Yeah. All right. And listen, in our final minute here, it seems like Joe Biden's gone from bad to worse. He's starting to announce the people that are going to speak at the Democratic National Convention. It looks like he's recruited like the most leftist of leftists to be his cheerleading team.
Pretty much. The lineup is not something that is supposed to make anybody feel thrilled. You've got the Clintons that are going to speak. You have the Obamas that are going to speak. You have Sanders that's going to speak. He's a socialist, and he's going to be speaking about his platform. And then you have AOC that's going to be speaking. I mean, she too is a socialist. So I just thought that people said Biden was a moderate. If Biden is a moderate, why is he attracting so many socialists to speak at the DNC lineup, aside from he's going along with the socialist agenda as well?
No doubt.
This is dangerous for America. This is very dangerous.
Yeah, no question about it. You're dangerous because you're so good when you come on our show. We got to leave it there. Thank you, my dear. We got to see you again soon, hopefully, okay?
God bless. Take care.
That's Tisha Powell, nationally recognized attorney, TV commentator, and author of the book, Trump Must Win. We'll take a quick break. We'll wrap it up right after this with some more Liquid Lunch. All right, welcome back. I got to do a little local advocacy here. There's so much crap going on with small businesses, in particular restaurants. I talked about it last week, how the Marina Cafe, a restaurant right here in Staten Island, New York, with no warning, okay, I've been there multiple times, everybody's all spaced out, and tables, and masks, and all this other crap, okay? The sheriff just comes in, whoom, like a whirling dervish, shuts him down. And I got lucky enough, someone showed me the video of the commissioners at the New York State Liquor Authority contemplating what to do to this restaurant. And they flew a drone over the freaking thing, okay, and took pictures and video of it, all right? And in the report to the commissioners at the State Liquor Authority, the sheriff's folks said that the video evidence they got from the drone said that they couldn't tell if everyone had masks on. So they weren't sure about the masks. But what they were sure of was there were a lot of people congregating around the pool, pin that, okay, and by the tent, okay? They have no pool, and they have no tent. So as it stands right now today, the restaurant cannot serve liquor. People have to go there. They can't even bring their own or anything. So it crushes business. And other businesses around here in New York have been slammed. Governor Cuomo hired 1,000 people. Talk about new hiring. He hired 1,000 people to do, you know what? To go around and scam and rat on restaurants who were trying to support their families. That's what this mutt did, okay? At the same time, he sent 6,000 senior citizens. And you know who I love? This lady, Janice Dean on Fox News. She's the weather lady, okay? I met her a couple times. I met her at Brian Kilmeade's book party. She introduced him, okay? She lost her mother-in-law and her father-in-law in a nursing home, and she is not letting up. And thank God she has a platform like Fox News to keep talking to people about it. Governor Cuomo sent 6,500 senior citizens straight to their death by sending them back to nursing homes where we knew there was COVID in those nursing homes. So if there was something more nefarious there, I don't know. I'm sure it solved a big hole in the New York State pension plan. So I'm sure some of those people were pensioners or former New York City or New York State employees. So that takes a load off the governor's mind. But over in New Jersey, where our friend Fernando Uribe is, my buddy Mikey Lopez, Mikey AC Lopez is always, I'm friends with him on Facebook. You got to follow him. He's down in AC and shows you all the places you need to know if you're going down there. But Atlantic County, New Jersey, where Atlantic City is, they've had 0 COVID deaths in the last 6 days, okay? And, you know, NJ.com puts out this tweet yesterday. Reopening indoor dining in New Jersey remains too risky for coronavirus spread based on study. This is what Governor Murphy said. And this cat, Declan O'Scanlan, who we've had on the show before, says this is garbage. How about a study in Connecticut where they've been at 50% capacity for restaurants and gyms since June 17th? They're performing as well against the spread as New Jersey with a 40% lower unemployment rate. 40% lower. So Connecticut, they got something figured out there. Indoor dining at 50%, nice. Okay? 40% lower unemployment rate than over in New Jersey. And by the way, I've been down the Jersey Shore a few times this summer. Okay, a bunch of places. There's all kind of reports that down in LBI, the tiki bar down there is packed to the gills. No one's wearing masks. Everybody's having a good time. I haven't heard of any outbreaks down there. The tiki bar in Point Pleasant, my buddy Bass lives right across the street. He says everybody's having a good time. Everybody's having fun. I don't know why they won't let these poor restaurant owners. And by the way, in the Northeast, the time where you make your money is in the summer because people can sit outside. You know, in New York in particular, no, you don't make your money because everybody runs down the Jersey Shore. But in Jersey, that's where they make all the dough. It's packed every week. Families are going down for a week, a day, a weekend, something. That's when they make all their money. It's a seasonal type of town. And the indoor is killing people. We got to get no Tanika. We got to get AC Mike Lopez on too. We got to see what's happening down in AC, get a little update on what's happening in Atlantic County. And I think yesterday I was watching the president. He was having, to me, he was having a killer press conference. I love when he starts taking Q&A, because then he just starts doing the Muhammad Ali. Pop, 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 pop. Pop, pop, whop, pop, pop. Every reporter, pop, pop, pop. It's unbelievable. It's like, to me, it's like must-see TV, watching the Q&A of a Trump conference. But in the middle of it yesterday, things got a little hairy. Check this out.
Premises, the wall, as you know, the fencing, especially the new fencing that they put up, is very powerful. But it was on the outside of the White House. Okay, and they'll have a full report. Secret Service, in a little while, will have a full report.
Are you rattled by this at all, Mr. President?
I don't know. Do I seem rattled? It's unfortunate that this is a world, but the world's always been a dangerous place. It's not something that's unique. The world has been, you look back over the centuries, the world has been a dangerous place, very dangerous place, and it will continue, I guess, for a period of time.
The guy, where's my, give me that, we gotta ring the bell. I mean, the guy is the one-man comedy show. On top of everything else, he's a tremendous entertainer. But I like the way you said it. Do I look rattled over here? Do I look rattled? Jess, did he look rattled in your view? Did the president look rattled? No, did not look rattled. Nico, did you see the president rattled?
Not even the slightest bit.
The team is in full agreement. I'm assuming I had no mistakes to correct today because they're silent over there. But we did have
one.
Oh, one. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, you pronounced Biden's 2019 comment a little wrong. He said poor kids are just as bright as white kids.
Ah, you're right. I knew I couldn't. It wasn't coming to me. I knew I didn't have it right. But all right, let's ring the bell for Nico. He found one of my mistakes, which it would only make sense that the one thing he gets right is correcting one of my mistakes, because he loves that crap. But I love him.
I was ready.
I love him so much. He's such a great worker. He's so phenomenal. But we're going to see you tomorrow right here. It's going to be a whopper of a Woman Wednesday. And we'll be here the same bat time, same bat channel, more Liquid Lunch.